Well, Tikka, it's a pleasure to have you here at the Wharton India Economic Forum and also for Knowledge at Wharton. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no, it's our honor. Why don't we start off with you telling us a little bit more about your career path, your career trajectory. We were talking yesterday, obviously, and you have a very interesting trajectory. So why don't you share some of that with us?
Well, my career path wasn't planned. My parents never looked at my report card. So everything happened by accident, which is perhaps a very romantic way of going about things, but I don't recommend it to many people. As I said, things happened by chance. I graduated from the Doon School and went to Delhi University and was hired by a bank in New York. So spent about 10 years of banking across the world. And I was picked up by the LVMH group to look at India when India was a closed market. So I joined them in 1994 and advised various companies within the group. And in 1998, the chairman of Louis Vuitton said, "Hey, I want you full-time with me, and we will decide who else you can advise." So it's been a fascinating journey because my chairman, Yves Cassel, is the real pioneer in the luxury business. He's a legend, and he has created Louis Vuitton to be what it is, and passionate about India and the development of business in India. So I consider myself privileged and honored to have been associated with him professionally and personally for such a long time,
Yeah. So talking about the luxury market in India, you mentioned it was closed at one point. Now you have a presence in India, as I'm sure do other luxury brands. Can you tell us a bit more about the Indian consumer when it comes to the luxury market? Like, what sort of trends are you seeing? Who are these? Who's your target customer in India? And also, do you see an aspirational element in India when you look at consumers, or is it sort of a very set group of consumers that are going after the luxury market?
Well, I think this is phase one of development. Phase one of development in a country like India is with the very affluent. They have the same trends as global customers. They travel, they've seen the world, they want similar products as consumers across the world want. So the patterns are very similar. The aspiring middle class, which is actually the game changer,
right.
They look and see what Bollywood is doing, what the Indian tycoon is doing, what the young politician is buying, and they follow that trend.
What MS Dhoni is doing.
Exactly, yeah. So we have to be careful that the brand is always positioned at a level they are always aspiring to reach, So it has to be managed very carefully. So iconic Indian faces, as I said, from Indian royalty, we do photo shoots with them, whose families have had association with Louis Vuitton for over 100 years, with top Bollywood stars. Everything is done at the top level, to give that exceptional experience with an exceptional brand. So no compromises made, but as I said, the game changer is the middle class, and they want to see this brand associated with exceptionally gifted and talented people.
Right. So when we talk about this aspiring middle class in India, which you've termed the game changer in the luxury market, you mentioned obviously the challenges and the trade-offs there that Louis Vuitton as a brand has to face and manage. Can you tell me a bit more about how you're managing that, and what's the strategy going forward?
Well, the strategy is simple: to get the message across through different media, different avenues of communication, to do very select events which are unique, to always make the consumer feel, and this middle class feel, that here is a brand which is always thinking out of the box. Any experience with Vuitton is a surprise.
So can you give us an example of such an event or such a...
Yes, I mean, when we opened our Bombay store, we said, let's look for a unique venue. Normally, brands would play safe and go to a 5-star hotel and secure it. Vuitton doesn't do things that way. So we asked a friend, we call it the friends and family of Vuitton, if they could give us their home.
Okay.
Now you imagine a billionaire giving his home to a commercial company. It doesn't happen. But Vuitton is the only brand they were willing to make an exception for. This is a home on top of a hill, perhaps the greatest home in Bombay, belonging to a very conservative family.
You're giving me too many clues.
No, you'd be surprised. It's not what you think. They're a very special family. They gave us access to their home. Our event team came, created this incredible scenery outside, covered their pool also, with plexiglass. The dinner was on the pool, special menus, special champagnes were flown in, great entertainment. So people, went and said, wow, what an experience. This could never happen anywhere. Then we also lit up the Gateway of India with our logos. Bombay said, hey, how come this brand is allowed? We've never been allowed to do that. So, Vuitton has the ability to create exceptional experiences and moments. And even government agencies don't mind us doing, because we are very respectful. When we lit up the Gateway of India, it was done in a very tasteful way. It wasn't, a brash brand flashing its logos everywhere. It was done in a very artistic way. So the Gateway was lit up, plus you have this unique evening in a home where people had never been invited to.
Right. So let's talk about this affluent customer in India for a second. So you said the patterns you've seen are very similar to affluent people anywhere else in the world. That said, I'm sure there are differences. And I was wondering if you can talk a little bit more about what differences in tastes, in the sort of things do you see amongst the affluent Indian? And especially, I think one of the things I would love for you to address is, in India, especially even with your designs or with consumer preferences, are you seeing the affluent Indian wanting a mix of Western fashion, Western designs, combined with some sort of a heritage, traditional element as well? Or is that not happening right now?
No, as I said, an affluent Indian is a global customer. So he's used to seeing Vuitton globally and knowing the products. What is different with Indian consumer is that he still wants something specially made for him, the bespoke. We've had a special order section within Louis Vuitton for over 150 years. Indian consumers today are some of the biggest spenders and have placed orders for special orders. I mean, for example, a large steamer trunk with their initials and family coat of arms is still made for them. We have a customer who's ordered a shoe case for 100 pairs of shoes. Another customer who's ordered a watch cabinet for his collection of watches. They like things specially made for them, which is very interesting. I mean, these were traditions which India, in a way, excelled in, and they still are very much in vogue today.
Right. And so given that you have straddled both the India and the US, and I imagine several other countries in your career over the last few decades, can you start to share a few insights that you've had about how management practices in India, the management philosophy in India, differs from the management philosophy, different management practices that you've seen elsewhere?
Management philosophies for us, I can only talk on behalf of Louis Vuitton, are very similar. Standards are set by the chief executive officer. What he looks for is some unique qualities in you. As I said, qualities which people don't really evaluate but are coming to evaluate much more is humility, the ability to appreciate other cultures, integrity. When you are representing iconic brand, you really need to be careful on how you conduct yourself too. You're not selling a mass market product. So ethics, value systems, are you a custodian of the heritage? Because when you join Vuitton, you become a custodian of a very interesting heritage, unique. So we try and make sure that these values filter down to all the employees. So the company is very, very proactive. It does a lot of training sessions. It has many seminars. There's a lot of interaction between different levels of management, both formal and informal, just to make sure that everyone becomes the custodian of the DNA of the brand.
As you also see Indian companies expanding abroad, maybe not necessarily in the luxury market, do you see anything in terms of practices, philosophy, values that the Indian management ethos has to offer the rest of the world?
It's a difficult question. I think Indian management companies or Indian management skills are being used more and more across the world. But I'm not quite sure how they can really merge with practices of the West. I think what is happening right now is that we are coming from a very different world. We're very, very used to a consumer market which is driven internally. I think our companies, traditional companies, haven't had to deal with competition. I think that's the opportunity for Indian companies to change, become more international. The acquisition of Jaguar and Land Rover by Tata's is, I think, again, a game changer, because on the other hand, they produce terrible cars in India, There is no comparison between the Land Rover they produce and the car they produce. On the other hand, they have this Nano, and other Tata vehicles, which I don't know whether you've seen or driven them, are a different story. So, and they've also in the hospitality sector, they're leaders in beautiful heritage hotels. And they've acquired the Pier in New York, I believe. I'm going to see it tomorrow. I believe they've redone it. They've acquired a hotel in Boston. They own a hotel in San Francisco. So in the hospitality sector, I think we're very strong. And there's a huge opportunity for us to create this magic of service, of luxury, of being entertained. We're very good at that. But other sectors, I'm not quite sure how it'll take time to adjust. But the opportunity is there, Right. We've got tremendous talent, all they need to do is unleash it,
Right. Well, on that hopeful note, thank you very much, Tikka. It was a pleasure chatting with you about obviously your trajectory and also the luxury market. And we wish you the best of luck in your
Thank you for your wonderful welcome. And I'll look forward to more dialogues with the Wharton School of Business.
Definitely. Thank you.
My pleasure.